What if you're a virgin and the only girlfriend you have also broke up with you? Yes, that's correct. That's how Kazuya Kinoshita feels right now because his first hot girlfriend has dumped him because he's a loser. As a result, he cries like a baby in his room before discovering a website for a rental girlfriend. He employs Chizuru because he is desperate, and she is far more attractive and hotter than his ex. However, he soon finds that it was all a ruse. Furthermore, after reading her reviews, he gets the impression that holding hands at the end of the date is just part of her routine. As a result, he gives her a terrible rating. Despite knowing the truth, he rents her again to chastise her, but soon realizes Chizuru's real character. Chizuru scolds him until he receives a phone call from the hospital and rushes to meet his grandmother. She was fine, though, and she learns that Kazuya has a hot girlfriend. She hurries out to inform her friends, and in the meantime, Chizuru informs him that they must hide because her grandmother is also hospitalized here. As a result, they flee to another room and hide under a blanket. When Kazuya gets this close to her, he marvels at her beauty, until Chizuru labels him a pervert and kicks him off the bed. Unfortunately, Chizuru's grandmother discovers their relationship, and while they debate what to do next, their grandmother wonders about their future. The next day, Kazuya discovers that Chizuru attends his college and they both live in the same apartment. What a coincidence. Chizuru's worries take over when she sees Kazuya, and she drags him to an empty room, instructing him to act like a stranger in college since she doesn't want anyone else to know her secret. At night, Kazuya's grandmother is on her way to see Chizuru. As a result, he rushes to Chizuru's room and begs her to be his girlfriend again. She refuses at the time, but when Granny arrives, she softens and agrees to play the rented girlfriend game once more. Before leaving, Granny encourages them to visit her at the hospital every Wednesday, so Kazuya and Chizuru decide to pretend as a couple in front of their grannies. Their next date is interrupted by Kazuya's friend, who first doubted that a loser like Kazuya could have a hot girlfriend like Chizuru. As a result, his buddies eventually invite them to a party also attended by Kazuya's ex-girlfriend Mami. Out of jealousy, she wants to embarrass Kazuya and ends up disclosing his sex life in front of everyone. Chizuru intervenes to protect his dignity after hearing this. However, Kazuya does not want to be saved from this humiliation since he wants Mami back. Chizuru leaves the party after seeing this. Kazuya is confused between his ex and his rental girlfriend. He scolds Mami for being cruel to Chizuru after the party and rushes to a room, where he begins crying because he drags her into all of this. Chizuru, on the other hand, comforts him once more, explaining that it's normal to miss your ex-girlfriend. The scene depicts them falling in love with each other. But wait, they're not. Kazuya and his pals go on a summer holiday, where Kazuya and Mami spend some quality time reliving the lovely experiences they shared. At this point, Kazuya believes she has developed feelings for him, but Chizuru runs into him before he can confess that Chizuru is his rental girlfriend. It turns out she is also on a summer vacation with her friends. Thankfully, Kazuya's pals didn't recognize her due to her glasses. Later, Kazuya pulls her into the restroom for questioning her purpose for being here. Mami arrives before they can leave, and Chizuru exposes herself to be Kazuya's girlfriend once more. Kazuya, on the other hand, is contemplating his doomed relationship with Mami. Mami, on the other hand, calls him and informs him that her precious bracelet has been lost in the sea. They begin looking for it, and while doing so, Mami falls on Kazuya, and then she kisses him out of the blue. Meanwhile, Chizuru tells Kazuya's friends that she trusts him and that he is not a cheater. Kazuya decides to set things straight by announcing a breakup with Chizuru. However, as soon as he does so, his friend begins hitting him because he believes Kazuya is rushing to the conclusion in order to reconcile with Mami. Later, he tells Chizuru that she should give Kazuya a chance by giving her 2 ferry tickets. Chizuru, on the other hand, believes Kazuya has become mature and done the right thing by breaking up with her for Mami. Mami afterward calls Kazuya and invites him to the pool. Meanwhile, Chizuru is unwell and accidentally falls from the ferry. Kazuya dives into the ocean. Despite his inability to swim and the blink of an eye, both of them are found up on a deserted island where Chizuru performs CPR on him. At that point in the story, I believe she has finally sparked feelings for Kazuya. Later, Kazuya's grandmother is discharged from the hospital and goes on vacation with him. When they arrive at the venue, Kazuya realized that Chizuru and her grandmother would also accompany them. Due to Gran's conspiracies, the plot escalates towards their love, and they eventually give up and decide to sleep in the same room. Kazuya confesses his affection for her late at night and chooses to tell his granny the truth. Chizuru, on the other hand, suggests she may be his rental until he finds a new girlfriend. Later, they run into Kazuya's buddy, Kuri, who tells him that he has a hot girlfriend too. He even invites them on a double date. After that, Kazuya bumps into a new girl, Ruka. Upon falling, he sees her underwear. I bet he was about to be aroused, but Ruka calls him a pervert and leaves. Later, on a double date, Kazuya finds out that Kuri's girlfriend is none other than Ruka. It was surely humiliating, but they managed to enjoy the date. Ruka somehow knows about Chizuru's true identity, and while she accuses her of being a rental, Chizuru strikes to prove her wrong by kissing Kazuya. But still, Ruka didn't buy it. While leaving, Kazuya chases her to the station to beg her not to tell anyone. But fortunately, ends up grabbing her breast. Whoa, I need this kind of coincidence too. After that, he begs her not to tell anyone about Chizuru's secret. Later, Ruka visits the college to talk with Kazuya. However, Kuri arrives there too, so they rush to an empty room where she forcefully hugs him to see whether Kazuya can increase her heart rate, which he does. Kuri catches them together and Ruka tells him the truth by thanking him for renting her as a girlfriend. She turns out to be a rental too. Kazuya goes to share this news with Chizuru, but Ruka arrives there and professes her feelings for Kazuya because he is the only one who can give her butterflies and increase her heartbeat. Chizuru, on the other hand, is reluctant to let him date her since it would hurt Kuri's feelings. Later, while fleeing, Kazuya is pursued by her, and after a mess, Chizuru allows him to date her because she would not stop and can reveal Chizuru's secret in college. Kazuya's charming yet virgin life takes a new turn when he begins dating Ruka. As a result, he quits seeing Chizuru for ages. As Christmas comes, he begins to think about Chizuru again, and one day he sees her at the train station. At first, it appears that she is seeing her new client, but Kazuya subsequently wonders, what if that guy is her genuine boyfriend? This terrible thought filled his head and tempted him to stalk them. So he follows them from a fortune teller to a restaurant, library to the cinema, till he encounters the person, Umi. As Umi discusses Chizuru with someone, Kazuya suspects that he is plotting against her. He is left in disbelief and imagines them kissing and is caught after collapsing to the ground. What a weird situation. With no other option, Kazuya gives her his judgment of Umi, only to discover that he is assisting her in winning an acting audition. Chizuru admits that she wants to be an actor and Umi will help her find a well-known director. Kazuya becomes awkwardly insecure and becomes emotional. However, Chizuru then gives him a phone cover as an apology gesture, making him even more emotional. The narrative is still far from over, and as it begins to snow, Kazuya attempts to walk her home, only to be refused once more. Back at home, Kazuya feels special after Chizuru offers him a gift, but he quickly finds that she's given similar stuff to each of her clients. Later, while renting her, she confesses that the organization has a policy of gifting their clients. Soon after, Ruka discovers them together and drags Kazuya to a hotel room, where she demands an explanation about what they were doing together and their connection with each other's grandparents. Kazuya tells her the entire story, and she smacks him, claiming the only way to end their misery is to introduce her to his grandmother as a girlfriend. She also informs him that she is confident she can be the mother of his child, prompting Kazuya to run to the bathroom. Ruka notices a message on Kazuya's phone about a family reunion at that moment. The following day, Kazuya hires Chizuru again so that they can meet his grandma, but as soon as they do, Ruka appears out of nowhere, claiming to be Kazuya's true girlfriend. The Grand demands an explanation, and seeing no other option, he tells a dark lie, claiming Ruka is a chronic liar. Meanwhile, Chizuru drags Ruka into the restroom and seeks elaboration for her behavior, to which she responds that Chizuru is wrecking chaos in their life and that if she doesn't love Kazuya, she must leave and be replaced by Ruka. Everyone at the table was smiling at Ruka's face as if she were psychologically ill. Ruka instantly realizes that something is wrong and approaches Kazuya. Hearing his explanation, she confronts his grandmother, intending to tell her the whole truth, but the grandma's love for Chizuru overcomes her and she does not reveal their secret. Nonetheless, Ruka proclaims herself as Kazuya's girlfriend and demands his commitment. Oh, did I mention that Kazuya has started working part-time? Ruka has now also joined. However, the plot twists when Kazuya's friends arrive and explain Kuri's weird behavior on campus. They also tell him to do something kind for him. Later, while thinking about Kuri's embarrassment, Kazuya devises a scheme and goes to Chizuru's door, demanding her to be Kuri's rental girlfriend. Chizuru meets Kuri the next day and tells him the whole truth. He's initially perplexed and hesitant to go on a date with her, and as he is about to depart, she decides to go to the amusement park alone. This tickles Kuri's interest because he is scared that she will be mistreated there, so he accompanies her. They enjoy the date while Kuri admits his embarrassment once more, but it doesn't last long because, at the end of the day, he has moved on from Ruka. Kuri was going to pay Chizuru's expenses, upon which she claims that Kazuya has already paid her. At that point, Kazuya comes, and the two pals sit together, discussing how Kazuya ended up renting a girlfriend. Kuri appears to be planning to kill him at first, but he quickly begins laughing at Kazuya's poor and virgin life. Everything was settled until Chizuru asked Kazuya to meet her on the balcony, where she asked him to rent a new girlfriend from her organization. She asks to rent her colleague because the girl was shy and couldn't meet the needs of her client. That's how we met Sumi, a hesitant, shy, and introverted rental girlfriend. After meeting her, Kazuya realizes that while she is attractive, she is not suitable for the job of rental girlfriend. However, he continues to pursue her for Chizuru's sake and keeps her motivated. Sumi gets cornered by some thugs in the bowling club, but Kazuya protects her and earns her respect. The plot is yet again twisted when Mami sees them holding hands. She follows them and mockingly admires him for being a womanizer. Sumi tries to protect him from Mami's wrath, but Kazuya asks for an excuse. Mami feels perplexed at the end of the day and is constantly thinking about Kazuya. She also wonders why Sumi had to date someone like him. That's when she looks her up on the internet and discovers she's a rental girlfriend. Meanwhile, Chizuru thanks Kazuya for assisting Sumi and reveals that she'll be leaving the job since Umi has found a director prepared to give her a part in acting. She also mentions briefly that she can still be his rented girlfriend for Granny's sake. Another dramatic twist kicks in when Chizuru goes on a date with her new client. While she was waiting, the client turned out to be none other than Mami. On the other hand, Kazuya and Ruka are having a good time. He was about to confess that he actually wanted to date her for real from now on. But before he says it, he notices Mami and Chizuru passing by and entering a room. He becomes perplexed. Mami, on the other hand, forces Chizuru to sing karaoke, only to humiliate her afterward by suggesting she should stop playing as a rental girlfriend because it is damaging Kazuya's sentiments as well as the budget. Kazuya is listening to their talk. Shortly, Mami and Chizuru quickly left the scene, and Kazuya pursued them only to find them fighting over him. Chizuru tries her hardest to make Mami understand how much he loves her, but it doesn't work because Mami has seen Kazuya and flees from the awkward scenario. Later that night, Kazuya informs Chizuru that he has heard all that has happened between Mami and her, and he apologizes for bringing her into this. Chizuru counters this by claiming she is feeling guilty for not being able to assist him in reclaiming Mami's love. On the other hand, Kazuya was unconcerned because all he could think about was Chizuru. He finally says it at the end. He admits to wanting her. After the credits, we see Chizuru being emotional, but Kazuya gets the impression that she is offended, so he immediately clarifies that he meant that he wants her as a rental girlfriend. Later, in the room, he expresses regret, and Chizuru is also observed as emotional. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video. Until next time, take care.